The car was superb on the way home last night. It got all the way from Farnborough, BMW headquarters, over to Worcester, and then back home without me charging it. I was down to 10 miles in the range when I got home. The car was having a little bit of a hissy fit, telling me to charge. Let's just get the nav screen on. Even though, all right, we're not listening to the music, but the connected services in this car, just like Google Maps, where you can see where there's traffic. So I'll generally just have that on in the background and just use it for reference if I've not got sat nav on. But the range on this, when we got home, I don't know exactly how many miles I did. I didn't reset the journey data. However, the car had 216 miles on 98% charge when I picked it up, but it did way more than that. Range wise, I filled it up overnight. We've got a set timing on our charger. I'm not using it loads today, so we'll just let it finish at 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's just cheap rates effectively for me. And that's how majority of electric car owners do operate their vehicles. There's, for me, no point in paying a premium and not making use of cheap charging rates. So we charged it up. I've took Callie to doggy daycare. It is a running day, so Callie goes to doggy daycare on a running day to effectively, just so we don't just leave her in the house on her own. She gets to have a play. She loves it there, but she loved the back of this car today, plenty of room. She was having a look out of the side windows, and that's the difference, or one of the differences with having an estate car. But range wise, after how I drove it home when it was charging last night, I looked at it at a few different states of charge, at 20%, at 25%, at 50% as well, and it looked as though that on 100% charge it will be doing about 265 miles, which is pretty good for such a big heavy car. The efficiency from, I think it's an 83 kilowatt battery, don't know, I think it is. The real range compared to the WLTP range is never the same, but I reckon you probably get 265 miles, but if you've got a heavy right foot, that will go down to nearer 200. I think that is one of the numbers of this car that isn't too big. Battery sizes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're going over 100 kilowatt batteries, and honestly the eco impact just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as well. I personally don't think you need much more than 250 mile range. I know that means you're going to be stopping off occasionally and charging up, but charging stations are better. It is something that I'm going to test. I'm going to test tomorrow. I haven't got time today. I've got a lesson later at 4 o'clock, so I've got 3 hours where I can do a little bit with this car, but I am going to test the charging tomorrow. But the charging speeds are apparently pretty good on this thing, so that is one thing about this car. 81 kilowatt usable, not sure. I'll have a look at the stats and put a graphic overlay, but that's one of the numbers of this car that I don't think is too big. I think they've got it just about right. Let me know your thoughts. Another thing that I was having a little play with this morning when I dropped Callie off was the one pedal driving feature. Now, it has got a B feature. You can put it into D drive. B is a braking gear. Now, I see loads of people, even in the press, say that its sole purpose is to add some more regen. yes it is. However, for me the main purpose is to add some control going downhill. There was a review, I think it was on a Mitsubishi Outlander years ago, that I saw Mike Brewer doing. He was saying about, I think that I had numbered B gears below drive, and that's just because it was an off-road vehicle and you get to add more regen for that situation. However, you can use it in the real world, and this car has a braking gear as well. All you do is just flip the selector down and instantly you can see, I'm going to use the accelerator a little bit just to budge us up, because it turns this car into one pedal driving. I had this on the Tesla. I did use it on the Tesla. I think it's a little bit Marmite for people, to be honest. They either love it or they hate it. I can deal with it. I used to have the Tesla in one pedal driving, but Liz's got an electric car that hasn't got the option, and I don't miss it. But you've just got to regulate how you're coming off the gas. I'm not sure at what point the brake lights come on. That is going to be something that I will try and find out. I'll try and find out when we're being followed by maybe a big bus, so I can see that point. I'm not sure how much you've got to lift off, whether you've got to lift off fully or whether you start to lift off in a particular way. And this car is really, really clever, so it wouldn't surprise me if it does things in a clever way. The regen braking, just normal when you've got it in drive, is adaptive also. It's one thing that I found out yesterday driving home, that you can just ease off on the motorway, and I don't know whether it's radar based a little bit as well. I'm not sure, but it seems a really clever system, that when I'm approaching a bend or I'm approaching a red set of lights, that little beep is just to say the lights have changed. Ashley, you've got to boot it away. No, it's not, obviously, but it is a warning for the traffic lights. But the regenerative braking, the active feature in it, it was pretty clever. If I was close to something, it would regen more. If I was coming up to a bend or a junction with a sat nav on, it would regen more. But if I was just on the motorway and just needed to back off for something a long distance away that I'd anticipated, it didn't jump on the brakes. So all of that stuff, since I've turned the braking gear on, has just been one pedal. What you've got to do, you've got to just modulate how you're using the accelerator. Think of coming off the accelerator isn't coming off. Coming off is probably halfway, and that's how you've got to think about it. But it is a nice way of doing things. I'm actually not sure which is the more efficient. There is a thinking process behind letting the vehicles roll. Can be more efficient than having them slow down when you actually don't need to. I'm not sure. I wonder whether Simon would have any stats on that. That would be an interesting one if anyone has got any data. That's not an area of my expertise, so if you do know anything about that, it would be much appreciated. But if you've got an electric car and it's got the one pedal driving option, do you use it or do you leave it alone? Interesting. So let's have a little look at the modes. It's in personal at the moment. I don't know actually how you change personal. There's the traffic light warning again. But you can hear we've got some sounds, and it's quite interesting on how all of these modes change the characteristics of the vehicle. I said when I lent the Volvo that it didn't have all these modes. My Focus does have different driver modes, but I just drive it in normal all the time. Would I probably do the same in this? Yeah, I've actually just left it in personal, apart from when I had a little play with these. Personal seems to have been set up with a little bit of sound. Steering's quite light. Throttle response is actually quite sharp. but I don't mind that. I can modulate that quite comfortably. Let's have a little look at what goes on when you go into sport. Oh, another interesting thing, didn't even notice this yesterday. My seat side bolsters grabbed me. The head-up display's changed. Not sure what's going on with the screen. I'm just going to have a little look at the throttle response when we get going. I'm just going to get my navigation back on again. So it was quite interesting. It's sort of like side bolsters just squeezed me in a little bit when it goes into sport mode. Did the range drop there? Let's have a look. It's on 196. Personal. Seat bolsters go back out. No, range stays the same. So we'll have a go back into sport again. Sounds a little louder as well, I think. Most definitely. And it does seem as though throttle response is a little sharp and it's got a little bit more about it. Let's go back to this, efficient. That beeping was because I was at 21 miles an hour on this 20 road. As with most of modern cars, they just go absolutely crazy and you've got to turn off all of these features. I know to turn it off. I had a little look this morning, if I was honest, when I was actually looking on how to turn off the mirror dipping down when you put it into reverse, and I forgot it was exactly the same as on my 3 Series BMW. You just press the left mirror. If you press the right mirror on operation, the mirror will dip down. The left mirror, if you press the left one, it stays normal. Just couldn't remember. I've driven a few different cars since then. So yeah, efficient mode, it's dulled things down. Throttle response is obviously much lower. Sound, have you noticed the sound? It's a fair bit quieter. There's hardly any sound. Okay, no worries. Let's have a little look at the next one. This one's quite fun. I actually was thinking, what the hell, when I had a little look at this yesterday. So you can see all the dashboard, all these light bars all the way around. Who's budging up for this guy? Oh no, he's reversing. It was a woman as well. Sorry, apologies. I'll just instantly say everyone's a man. So yeah, all the light bars change colour. You've probably seen all the way around the car. For me, little gimmicky. I am not sure if I purchased this car, and I'm not going to. It's way too expensive. But yeah, if I purchased this car, I'm not sure whether I would have any of these modes in operation. I'd probably just have it in personal, or what was the first one called again? I even forgot. Yeah, it is personal. So I would have it in personal and just set it up how I like and then leave it. But we'll wait till these lights change and we'll get going, because when you accelerate, this noise is absolutely amazing. It's obviously piped through the speakers and it's an artificial sound, but I think there was a composer who composed all the sounds for this vehicle, if I remember rightly. I don't do I don't do loads of research when I'm testing a car. I think that's probably the best way to do it, to discover as you drive it, because then you get a realistic expectation. But yeah, even when you sat here doing nothing, it's playing music and making noises. Have a little look at the other one, or the others, while we're just sat here. Relax. Oops. I'm just stopping that because it will take my camera out. It looks as though everything's shut off. Different music again. Different sounds, music. Looks as though it would have, like I said, shut the sunroof blind. Definitely changes the character of the car, but let's stick it back in this expressive one. This is the funny one. Just had to get myself out round the cones. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the car did just there as well with the Audi coming up, and in fact I'll talk about it now. When I was lane changing, and I noticed this yesterday on the motorway as well, that it notices and senses when there's cars approaching to you if you're going from the left to the middle, and there's sort of like force feedback or reverberation within the steering wheel that makes you and lets you know that someone's to this side. It's actually really good. Not sure whether it would just make your observations lazy. I obviously can't get too close. I'm never going to compromise safety, but it is a 40 limit. Oops, 44. And that's the power of this thing as well. It's absolutely immense. This is this regenerative braking that it's sensed the vehicles in front, even though I haven't got adaptive cruise on. It's sussed out where they are and it's altered the regen to suit what's going on. Like I said, it's a clever system. So there's no reverberation on the steering wheel this time because no one's next to me. So that's an added extra. It's not just blind spot information. The feedback comes through the steering wheel. Can't go too quick and show you with the lorry and this one to the left. Are you deciding to wait? I think so. So that's expressive. Enough of that. I just think that encourages you to go faster. Digital art. Not sure what this is all about as well. Let's have a little look. It's quite trippy. All these displays, are they meant to take your attention away off the road? Don't know. Like I said, it's a little gimmicky for me, but the modes in this car, we're just going to quickly have a look at the final one as well. Is it the final one? Yes, it is. Silent. Again, let's stop the sunroof. So it'll take my camera out. I suppose silent is a use if you're coming home late at night. I'm not sure how much noise is piped outside of the car. I think you do have to have a certain amount, even if it's in silent. It has to be to a certain level for pedestrians, I'm pretty sure. It's got auto hold. It's one thing that I do like, but I'm also mindful of it as well, with the brake lights being on. But when you press P, which is the parking brake function, it does take it out of drive, and then you've got to put it back into drive again to then obviously go away. Not a big deal, but it's just interesting to find and see how different manufacturers operate. That's the adaptive braking coming in there. I've still got to do enough myself to let it stop or to make it stop, but it did a majority of that itself. The left knee seems to track in the middle. For check both side mirrors, we've got equal gaps either side, so that's not a problem. If you employ this left knee in the middle, I know where my right knee is, so therefore I know where the left side of the car, you should be able to operate any vehicle. It's not a problem. So that side of the width isn't a big deal. So the parking brake, it then unlocks the doors and puts it in park. And then you need to go back into drive before you start off. I think that will just encourage people just to sit either with the foot on the foot brake or to put just auto hold on and do things that way. But don't forget, when auto hold is on, the brake lights are still on. So if you're seeing a BMW driver sat at lights and the brake lights are on, you probably understand a little bit more now of what's what. Is this really what BMW are expecting people to do? Because it unlocks the doors. I don't think so. Hey BMW, my bum's cold.
Sure, I will activate the seat heating for the driver.
There you go, so it sticks on the seat heating. It used to do that in my 2019 3 Series. I had a G20 320 diesel. It's a manual one as well. It's quite a rare one. They don't make them anymore. They only make them in automatics. But the operational system of BMWs, I think, is good. Yes, you can operate loads of things with the screen. I could have put my seat heating on. I'm going to turn it down a little touch. I'm sure you could have done that with the voice activation as well. But you can also do things with the iDrive menu, this toggle here, which is quite intuitive. You can move it left, right, forward, backwards, you can twist, you can push, and that allows you to do most of the functions. But I do think the one that people forget about quite a lot is the voice activation. So rather than faffing about with the temperature, turn the temperature to 21 degrees.
Okay, 21 degrees Celsius.
All of that can be done while you're still watching out there. And people forget about that. The voice commands in modern cars are a good safety tech. Use them more rather than faffing about with that. See what you can actually do. And as technology does improve, those systems will get better. Turn off seat heating.
Deactivated.
Activate sports mode.
I have activated sport mode.
Activate personal mode.
Okay, I have activated personal mode.
Cancel route guidance. Nice subtle warning that I was a couple above the speed limit. I haven't been too bad with this car, even though it's got 600 horsepower. I think it's the inbuilt sort of speed gauge in my psyche, to be honest, which just allows me to keep about what we do need to. What I am going to try and show you at some point as well is this button here. It's a boost button. I don't think it increases the horsepower. I think it increases the torque, as if you need more than maybe, is it 7, 9, I don't know, nearly 800 torques. I think it's in Newton meters. Everything's measured in nowadays. We've gone away from pounds, feet. But it's, again, another gimmick. I'll see whether I can show you a little bit further up if I'm first in the queue anywhere. It has got launch control, this car. Will I launch it? Honestly, don't think I will. It's not something that I'm really fussed about, if I was honest. Anyone can launch a car in a straight line. It's about how you deal with, in this situation, the safety aspect of the van parking in the cycle area and what they could do next. That's what driving on the road should be about. Making sure there's going to be no one overtaking. Watching to see how closely even the oncoming cars are following to each other and looking out for anything that could invade my space. Not how quickly it goes. But I suppose car manufacturers have got to do things like this to sell vehicles, because not everyone's going to be, I was going to say Mr. Boring there, but no, I will have some fun. We're going to go out and have some fun. We're going to go to North Wales in this tomorrow and go and have a little drive of it. But I'm just going to quickly show you this boost button and what it does. There you go. Everything lights up and it gives you a countdown of power where you get the extra power and a full hit of what the car can do. Quite scary that we can buy vehicles like this now. Thinks we're doing 29 and 20, we're not. It's 20 in the side road, so It's another part of the tech. Cars are not good enough at knowing the speed limits yet to force our hand into doing things. It has to be us in command and us in charge. How often would you be pressing that? Wonder how soon you can press it after it's gone. I want it again. Okay. just keep pressing it all the time, and that's it. It shows you what type of a gimmick it is, if you like. Just for example, if you think in a car that's got 600 horsepower near enough and nearly 800 newton meters of torque, even though it weighs 2.4 tons, if you think you need extra power to do an overtake, let me tell you this, perhaps it's not the correct time to do the overtake. Ridiculous. And it makes me chuckle thinking about it, but like I said again, I understand how the manufacturers have got to sell cars. I'd just like to have a quick talk about the height of this vehicle. It's an estate car, and my thought process behind estate cars is they're not as tall. People are going SUV for the height and the view. Now, the height of this vehicle I think is particularly high. It's a lot higher than the V60. But that's unfortunately nowadays down to the big battery cell that's beneath us. Build the car on top of that. So this is a fair bit higher than other vehicles, and I found that. I just noticed it driving past the red Audi then, that we were a fair bit higher seating position, and I'm not sat high. Let's have a look at handling. No, I'm not going to do that. Catch people out just like that. So there you go. If I had have continued with that in that situation and gone a little quicker to have a little look at the handling, would it have caused problems with the van? Absolutely. So pick your time and place, and that comes from your observational skill set. Nothing wrong with going around a corner a little quicker as long as it's safe to do it, and it wasn't safe there. Do people buy vehicles because they like to sit up high? Does that help them improve the view? I think that's a driving myth, if I was honest. Even coming up to roundabouts, if you're higher in this Discovery to our right, does that then just make you go, well, I can sit next to a vehicle because I'm higher? Whereas I wouldn't do that, would I? What would I do? I'd drop back behind the Discovery or behind the van and have a little look in that space there, which is a safer way of thinking about it. So if you're buying a car just for the height and the view, I get it. I understand why you're doing it. But there are other aspects that you can tweak with your driving. I totally understand as well, especially with me running the London Marathon in April with the training that we're doing, getting in and out of a lower car is also a problem. So I understand people may very well buy an SUV for those reasons. Listen, people can buy it what they want. I'm not trying to, encourage or discourage people from buying anything that they wish. All I'm trying to do is just highlight, don't just buy an SUV just because you think you can see a little bit above the following car, because cars are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Think about what I said about adjusting your speed. But if you've got an SUV, please let me know. What was your main reason for purchasing it? Was it the space? Because honestly, this has got way more than my missus's car. Boot space especially, and, if I was honest, space in the back seats. People think SUVs are the big things. Not necessarily. Yeah, why did you buy your SUV if you've got one? Anyway, that will do me for today. What time are we now? We're nearly 1:30. I'll pop home, whack this footage onto my computer, and then get the car charged up overnight, and we're then ready for a long day at it tomorrow. North Wales we're going to head to.